Millionaire's daughter tells street kid, "You're my brother." What happens next changes everything. David Thompson never imagined his only daughter's 6th birthday would become the day that changed his life forever. The successful businessman had organized a lavish party in the garden of his Beverly Hills mansion in Los Angeles, attended by the most important figures in American high society. It was during the moment when guests were singing "Happy Birthday" that everything happened. Emma, his little blonde princess with golden hair and a hand-embroidered white dress, ran toward the gate where a black boy around her age was watching the party through the bars. Before any security could intervene, the girl hugged the boy and shouted loud enough for everyone to hear, "Daddy, I found my brother." The silence that followed was deafening. Waiters froze with trays in mid-air, conversations stopped abruptly, and all eyes turned to David, who felt his blood run cold. The boy, startled by the sudden attention, tried to pull away, but Emma clung to him tightly. "Emma, come here right now." David strode quickly toward the gate, trying to maintain his composure in front of the guests. "No, Daddy. He's my brother. I know it," the girl insisted, pointing to a small dark mark on the boy's wrist. "Look, he has the same spot as me." David glanced at his daughter's wrist and then the boy's. There really was a striking resemblance between the two birthmarks, but it had to be just a coincidence. It had to be. "Sweetheart, stop this nonsense. This boy has nothing to do with us." David tried to pick Emma up, but she squirmed away. "Yes, he does. I dream about him every night. He cries in my dream and calls me his sister." The boy, who had stayed quiet until then, tried to run when he realized the situation was spiraling out of control. In his hurry, he tripped over his own feet and fell, revealing a faded hospital bracelet around his ankle. Jennifer Thompson, David's wife, who had come closer to see what was happening, stared at the bracelet for a few seconds. Her eyes widened, and she clutched her chest, stumbling backward. "It can't be," she whispered before fainting into the arms of one of the guests. Chaos erupted immediately. Some women rushed to help Jennifer, others began whispering among themselves, and David felt control slipping through his fingers. The party meant to be a joyful family celebration had turned into a public nightmare. "The party is over," David announced loudly. "I apologize to everyone, but my wife isn't feeling well. Security will escort you out." As guests were led off the property amid murmurs and curious glances, David turned to the boy, who was still on the ground, clearly terrified by the commotion. "What's your name?" David asked, struggling to steady his voice. "Tyler, sir," the boy whispered without looking up. "Where are your parents?" "I don't have any, sir. I live on the street." Emma, who had been quietly watching as her mother was carried inside, ran back to the boy's side. "Daddy, can he come home with us? Please." David looked at his daughter, then at Tyler, and felt an inexplicable tightness in his chest. There was something in the boy's face, an unsettling familiarity that left him uneasy. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Come with me," David told the boy, gesturing toward the house. "We'll talk inside." Dorothy, the family housekeeper for over 15 years, watched as the trio approached the main entrance. When her eyes met Tyler's, she dropped the tray she was carrying. The sound of glasses shattering on the floor echoed through the foyer. "Mrs. Dorothy, are you all right?" David asked, surprised by the staff member's reaction. "Yes, Mr. David." "I'm sorry. It was just a careless mistake," she murmured, but her hands trembled visibly as she bent to pick up the shards. "Leave that for later." "You may go," David said, growing increasingly uneasy with the strange reactions the boy's presence was causing. David led Tyler and Emma to his office, a grand space with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a mahogany desk that had cost more than many people earn in a year. The contrast between the room's luxury and the boy's worn, simple clothes was striking. "Sit down," David motioned to a leather armchair for Tyler, who hesitated before perching on the edge of the seat, as if afraid to dirty it. "Tell me about yourself. How long have you been living on the streets?" "About 3 years, give or take," Tyler replied, nervously fidgeting with his hands. "And before that? Where were you?" "I don't remember too well, sir. I have some hazy memories of a place with lots of kids, people in white." I think it was a hospital or something. Emma, who had stayed quiet until then, stepped closer to the boy and took his hand. I knew you were my brother. Can I show him our family photos, Daddy? Emma, please, stop this. This boy is not your brother, David said, though his voice came out less firm than he intended. But Daddy, look. Emma pushed up her sleeve, revealing the birthmark on her right wrist. It's exactly like his. David studied the two marks more closely. They were indeed nearly identical, small, dark, crescent-shaped spots. His rational mind searched for a logical explanation, but a strange feeling in his gut kept him from dismissing the possibility entirely. It's just a coincidence, he muttered, more to himself than to the others. Sir, Tyler spoke timidly, the girl feels familiar. When I first saw her through the gate, it was like I already knew her. Of course you know me. You're always in my dreams, Emma exclaimed, bouncing with joy. David ran a hand through his hair, feeling a headache coming on. The situation was spiraling out of his control, and he had no idea how to handle it. The office door opened, and Jennifer stepped in, still pale but seemingly recovered from her fainting spell. She froze in the doorway when she saw Tyler sitting in the armchair, her eyes filling with tears. Jennifer, are you feeling better? David stood, concerned. I need to talk to you. Alone, she said, her eyes never leaving the boy. Emma, take Tyler to the kitchen and ask Dorothy to give him a snack, David instructed. Can I show him my room after? No, sweetheart. We'll talk about it later. When the children had left, Jennifer sank into the chair behind the desk, covering her face with her hands. David, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago. What are you talking about? When Emma was born... Jennifer paused, took a deep breath and continued. She wasn't born alone. David felt as if the ground had vanished beneath his feet. What do you mean, not born alone? They were twins, David. Emma had a twin brother. The silence that followed was broken only by the ticking of the antique clock on the wall. David stared at her, trying to process what he'd just heard. That's impossible. I was there at the hospital. I saw Emma being born. If there had been another baby, I would have known. You arrived after the delivery. I was already in the room by the time you got there. The boy... Jennifer stopped again, fighting back tears. The boy was born first, but he was very weak. The doctors said he had serious heart problems and might not survive. And where is he? David asked, though part of him already knew the answer. My mother. She said it would be better if you didn't know, that there was no point in you suffering over a sick child when you already had a healthy daughter to care for. David stood up abruptly, knocking over the chair. Are you telling me I have a son I didn't know about for 6 years? That your mother and you decided for me, whether I should even know my own child existed? David, please try to understand. Understand what? That you lied to me for 6 years. That you stole from me the chance to know my son. We thought he wouldn't survive. The doctors were very clear about the prognosis. And obviously he did survive, David shouted, pointing toward the kitchen. He's right there in our kitchen, eating like some stranger. Jennifer broke down, sobbing. I didn't know he had survived. My mother told me that he hadn't made it. It wasn't until I saw the hospital bracelet that I started to suspect. What bracelet? The one the boy wears on his ankle. It's from Sunset Memorial Hospital, the same place where Emma was born. And it has their birth date. David walked to the window, staring at the garden where just hours ago they'd been celebrating their daughter's birthday. Now everything felt different, as if his entire life had been built on a lie. Where did your mother say she took the boy? To a facility specializing in children with health issues. She made a large donation to ensure he'd receive the best care. Name of the place? New Horizons Children's Center. David memorized the name. He'd have a lot to investigate. And the birth certificate? How do you explain Emma not having a registered brother? The doctors altered the records. My mother, she has a lot of influence, David. She knows important people in the medical field. Your mother bribed doctors to hide my son from me. Jennifer nodded, unable to speak. David stormed out of the study, slamming the door. He needed air, he needed to think. In the hallway, he found Dorothy standing near the kitchen, clearly nervous. "Dorothy, I need to talk to you." "Mr. David, You know that boy, don't you?" The housekeeper lowered her eyes. "Sir, I can't." "Dorothy, you've worked for this family for 15 years. I've always respected and trusted you. Don't lie to me now." She hesitated, then sighed deeply. "Yes, sir. I know the boy." "From where?" "The hospital, sir. I was there the night the babies were born. Mrs. Victoria asked me to oversee everything." "And?" "The boy really was born very sick, Mr. David. But when I saw him today, my God, how strong and handsome he's grown." "Did you know he was alive all these years?" "No, sir. Mrs. Victoria told me that he hadn't made it. If I'd known he was alive, I would have told you, I swear." David believed her. Dorothy had always been honest and devoted to the family. "Where has he been all this time?" Mrs. Victoria said she took him to the Hope Institute, but from what the boy told little Emma, it sounds like he ended up living with an elderly woman before ending up on the streets. "What woman?" "I don't know, sir. He just said she took care of him and called him my angel." Just then, Emma's cheerful voice echoed through the house. "Daddy, Tyler said he likes to draw just like me. Can I give him my crayons?" David returned to the kitchen and found the two children sitting at the table. Emma had given Tyler one of her favorite cookies, and he was eating it slowly, as if trying to make it last forever. "Emma, I need to speak with Tyler alone for a moment." "But Dad, go play in your room. We'll call you soon." When they were alone, David sat down beside the boy. "Tyler, I want you to tell me everything you remember about your life. Start with your earliest memory." The boy thought for a few seconds. "I remember a woman with white hair who always called me my angel. She had a small house with lots of plants on the porch. Every morning she'd wake me up singing a song about a little bird." "Do you remember her name?" "Mrs. Wilson. She said I was special, that I came to her during a very hard time in her life." "How long did you stay with her?" "I think about 2 years, more or less. She got really sick at the end, had to go to a place for sick elderly people. And then? I stayed alone in her house for a while, eating whatever I could find. Then some men came and said the house wasn't mine anymore and made me leave." "Have you been on the streets ever since?" "Yes, sir. But it's not so bad. There are other kids who look out for each other. And there are places to sleep when it's really cold." David felt his heart break, imagining this boy, who could have been his son, enduring hunger and cold on the streets, while Emma grew up surrounded by luxury and love, was almost unbearable. "Tyler, how long have you had this bracelet?" The boy looked at his ankle. "Forever. Mrs. Wilson said it was important to keep it, that one day it would be useful." "May I see it?" Tyler took off the bracelet and handed it to David. It was faded, but you could still read, "Sunset Memorial Hospital, 03/15/2018. Patient, unidentified. Emma's birth date." David closed his eyes and took a deep breath. There was no denying the facts anymore. "Tyler, how do you feel about Emma?" "She's really kind to me, sir. And it's funny, since when I look at her, I feel something strange here." He pointed to his chest. "Like I've known her from somewhere." "And what about me?" The boy hesitated. "You look a little like me, sir. Especially the eyes." David hadn't noticed before, but now that the boy mentioned it, there really was a resemblance. The shape of the eyes, the brow line, even the way Tyler tilted his head when thinking. "Mr. David," Tyler said timidly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why is Emma so sure I'm her brother?" "I don't know, son. I don't know." The word son slipped out naturally without David realizing it. But Tyler noticed, and his eyes filled with tears. "No one's ever called me son before, sir." David felt a lump in his throat. If this boy really was his son, how many important moments had he missed? First steps, first words, first day of school, all stolen from him by a decision others had made in his place. Jennifer appeared at the kitchen doorway. "David, my mother is here. She wants to talk to us." "Mrs. Victoria is here?" "Yes. She heard about the party from the driver who took some guests home. David looked at Tyler. I want you to stay here with Emma for now. Don't leave the house. Yes, sir. David found Mrs. Victoria in the living room, elegant as always, but with a tense expression on her face. At 68, the matriarch of the Thompson family still commanded respect wherever she went. Hello, David, she said, not rising from the armchair. Mrs. Victoria, I assume you know why you're here. I do, and I came to clear things up before you do something foolish. Foolish? You call it foolish that I've discovered I have a son? That boy is not your son, David. How can you be so sure? Because I know exactly what happened 6 years ago, and I know it's best for everyone if things stay as they are. David sat across from her. Then explain it to me. I want to hear from you what really happened. Mrs. Victoria took a deep breath before beginning. Jennifer did have twins. That much is true. But the boy was born with a very serious heart condition. The doctors said he would need multiple surgeries, that he'd likely spend more time in the hospital than at home, and even then, his chances of survival were very low. And so you decided for me that I shouldn't know? I decided to protect this family. Jennifer was suffering from severe postpartum depression. Emma needed special care because she was born premature. You were just starting your business and working 18 hours a day. There was no emotional or financial room for a sick child who likely wouldn't survive. But he did survive, and it was a miracle. But you need to understand, David, that the boy in your kitchen has been through traumas you can't even imagine. He isn't just your biological son. He's a product of the streets, of instability, of urban violence. He's not the son you would have raised. David stood up, furious. Are you implying he's not good enough for this family? I'm saying integrating that boy into your life now would be extremely complicated for everyone involved, including him. Where has he been all these years? At first, at the Hope Institute, like I told you. But when he turned 3, one of the staff members grew attached to him and asked to take him home. That was Margaret Wilson Hayes, a retired nurse who volunteered there. And when she got sick, I tried to find her relatives, but there was no one. The boy ended up slipping through the cracks. Slipping through the cracks, David repeated, disbelieving. You talk about him like he's an object. David, please, try to be rational. You have a stable family, a healthy and happy daughter, a thriving business. Why would you risk all that for a situation that could bring nothing but complications? Because he's my son, David shouted. And if it were Emma who'd slipped through the cracks, would you say the same thing? Mrs. Victoria stayed silent for a few seconds. It's not the same situation. Why? Because Emma is white and grew up here, and Tyler is black and grew up on the streets? This isn't about race, David. It's about reality. That boy has lived through things Emma never has. He's seen things, done things, been through situations that may have shaped him in ways that can't be undone. You don't know him. You don't know who he is. And you do? You've known him for a few hours. David paused to think. Mrs. Victoria was right about one thing. He really didn't know Tyler. But there was something about the boy, a sweetness, an innocence that had survived all the trauma that moved him deeply. I want a paternity test. David, this isn't up for debate, Mrs. Victoria. It's my decision. I need to be sure. And if he is your son, what then? I'll take care of him, like I should have from the beginning. What about Jennifer? What about Emma? Have you thought about the impact this will have on your family? Emma already accepted him as her brother from the moment they met, and Jennifer will have to live with the consequences of the choices she made. Mrs. Victoria stood up. If you insist on this, David, I can promise you'll regret it. Is that a threat? It's advice from someone who knows life, and knows not every story has a happy ending. After Mrs. Victoria left, David returned to the kitchen and found a scene that moved him deeply. Emma was drawing beside Tyler, and the two were whispering as if they'd been siblings for years. Look, Daddy, Emma held up the drawing. I drew our family. On the paper were 4 stick figures, a tall man, a woman with long hair, a blonde girl, and a dark-haired boy. All of them were holding hands with smiles on their faces. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Tyler, Draw a house for our family." The boy picked up a pencil and started drawing. When he finished, he showed it to David. A simple house, but with a big tree in the backyard and a garden full of flowers. "Why did you draw this tree?" David asked. "Because Emma told me she likes climbing trees, and at home, we should have a place to play together." David felt moved by the boy's simplicity and kindness. "Tyler, would you like to stay here tonight?" The boy's eyes lit up. "Really, sir?" "Yes, you can. But first, I need to know one thing. Do you have any documents? Something that proves who you are?" "Just this." Tyler pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket. "Mrs. Wilson gave it to me, said it was important." David unfolded the paper. It was a birth certificate. Tyler Margaret Wilson Hayes, born on March 15, 2018. The same date as Emma's, but the parents' names were blank. "Mrs. Wilson gave you this name?" "Yes, sir. She said Tyler was a warrior's name, and Wilson was her last name because I was like a son to her. And Hayes? That was her real last name. Margaret Wilson Hayes." David put the document away. It would be more proof for the paternity test. "Mr. David," Tyler said timidly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "If I really am Emma's brother, will you want me to live here?" "Why do you ask that?" "Because sometimes people feel sorry for us, but then they get tired. And I don't want to cause trouble for you." David knelt beside the boy's chair. "Tyler, if you're my son, you'll never have to worry about those things again. You'll have a home, a family, an education, everything you need. What if I can't get used to those things? On the streets, we learn to live differently. We'll learn together. I've never had a son who grew up on the streets either. It'll be new for me, too." Emma hugged Tyler. "Don't worry. I'll teach you everything. How to use hot water, how nice it is to sleep in a soft bed, how to pick nice clothes. And I can teach you how the stars can show you the way home when you're lost," Tyler replied. "What do you mean?" David asked, curious. "On the streets, we learn to look at the sky. The stars are always in the same place. When you know where they are, you're never completely lost." David was amazed by the boy's maturity. That night, Jennifer prepared a guest room for Tyler. Emma insisted on lending him one of her pajamas, which was too big for him, but he didn't complain. "Tyler," Emma said, sitting on the edge of the bed, "tomorrow I'll show you all my toys, and you can pick any you want to play with me." "Emma, I don't really know how to play. On the streets, we don't have toys." "It's okay, I'll teach you, and you can teach me street games. Promise you won't get tired of me?" "I promise." "Siblings never get tired of each other. Mom explained that to me." When David went to say goodnight to Tyler, he found the boy awake, looking out the window. "Can't sleep." "I'm used to sleeping under the stars, sir. It's too dark in here." David opened the curtains. "Is this better?" "Much better. Thank you." "Tyler, tomorrow we'll do some tests to make sure you're healthy and to clarify some things about your family. Do you really think I could be your son?" David hesitated. Part of him still fought the possibility, but another part, growing stronger, already knew the answer. "I think so, son." "If I am, will you be happy or sad?" "Why do you ask that?" "Because maybe you'd rather just have Emma. She's so pretty and polite." "I'm still learning to be polite." David sat on the edge of the bed. "Tyler, if you're my son, I'll be very happy, but I'll also be very sad for having missed so many years of your life." "You don't need to be sad, sir. The years we lost won't come back, but the ones ahead are still there for us to live together." The boy's wisdom impressed David once again. "Where did you learn to think like that?" "Mrs. Wilson always said the past is for learning, the present is for living, and the future is for dreaming. She sounds like she was a very special person." "She was. She said I was the grandson she never had, and that one day I'd find my real family." "Do you think she'd be happy knowing you found us?" "I'm sure. She always said families find each other when they're meant to, even if it takes a while." David kissed the boy's forehead. "Good night, son." "Good night, sir." "Can I call you Dad?" David felt his eyes well up. "Of course you can." The next morning, David woke up determined to uncover the whole truth. He scheduled the paternity test for that same day and hired a private investigator to trace Tyler's entire history since birth. During breakfast, Emma was beaming. "Mom, can I take Tyler to see my school today?" "Sweetheart, Tyler isn't enrolled in any school yet," Jennifer replied. "But he knows how to read and write. He showed me yesterday." "Where did you learn?" David asked Tyler. "Mrs. Wilson taught me. She said education was the only thing no one could ever take from you." "And after she got sick, you didn't study anymore?" "There are older boys on the streets who know a lot. They taught me math and other things, and sometimes I'd stand outside schools and listen to the lessons." David was moved. Even in such difficult circumstances, the boy had found ways to keep learning. "If you really are my son, we'll arrange a very good private school for you." "Can I go to the same school as Emma?" "Of course you can." Emma clapped her hands. "We'll be in the same class." "I'm not sure that's a good idea," Jennifer interjected. "Tyler is behind in his studies. He should start in a lower grade to adjust." "Mom, he's smart. He just needs a chance." David watched the exchange and realized Jennifer was still resistant to fully accepting Tyler into the family. It would be another obstacle to overcome. The paternity test was done at a discreet private clinic. Tyler was a little nervous about the procedure, but Emma held his hand the whole time. "When will we know the results?" she asked the doctor. "We'll have the full results in 72 hours. Over the next 3 days, the tension in the house was palpable. Jennifer kept a polite but cold distance from Tyler. Mrs. Victoria called several times a day to check how things were going, and David wavered between hope and fear of confirmation. Tyler, meanwhile, seemed determined to make himself useful. He helped Dorothy with small tasks, organized Emma's toys, and even assisted the gardener with watering the plants. "That boy has a heart of gold," Dorothy remarked to David. "I see no malice in him, despite everything he's been through. Do you think he'd adjust well here?" "Mr. Thompson, that boy brings a different light to this house. Even little Emma has been happier since he arrived." It was true. Emma was more cheerful, more talkative, and for the first time since she was born, she wasn't constantly begging for attention. She seemed to have found an ideal companion. On the 3rd day, David received an unexpected call. "Mr. Thompson, this is Mark, the investigator you hired. I found some very interesting information about the boy." "Go ahead." "I located some documents from the Hope Institute. Tyler was indeed there from 6 months to 3 years old. And there are detailed medical records." "What kind of records?" "Heart surgeries, 3 to be exact. The last one was when he was 2.5, and it was considered a complete success. The boy no longer has any heart problems." "What about Margaret Wilson?" "Margaret Wilson Hayes, 72 years old when she started taking care of Tyler. Retired nurse, widowed, no children. She worked as a volunteer at the Institute and grew fond of the boy. She went through all the legal steps to become his guardian." "And when did she get sick?" "Early onset Alzheimer's. She was admitted to a retirement home 3 years ago. She's still alive, sir." David felt his heart race. "Where?" "Sunset Valley Retirement Home, on the north side. But I should warn you, she's in a very advanced stage of the disease. She doesn't recognize anyone anymore." "What about Tyler's childhood? Is there any more information?" "I have some photos the Institute kept, and some drawings he made while he was there. I can email everything to you." "Send it all." When he hung up, David went to find Tyler and found him in the garden, teaching Emma how to make a paper boat. "Tyler, I need to tell you something. I found out where Mrs. Wilson is." The boy stopped what he was doing. "She's alive?" "She is, but she's very sick. She can't remember things anymore." Tyler was silent for a few seconds, then asked, "Can I see her?" "Of course. We can go tomorrow if you'd like." "I do. Even if she doesn't remember me, I'd like to say thank you to her." Emma hugged Tyler. "I'm coming with you. I want to meet the lady who took care of my brother." The next day, the 3 of them went to the retirement home. Margaret was sitting in a chair by the window, staring blankly at the garden. When Tyler approached, she showed no sign of recognition. But when he softly began singing the little bird song she used to sing to him every morning, Margaret smiled. "My angel," she murmured. Tyler held her hand. "It's me, Grandma Margaret. I came to thank you for everything you did for me. My angel found his family? I did. And they're really good to me." Margaret looked at David and Emma. "Beautiful family. My angel deserves it." For the 20 minutes they were there, Margaret drifted between moments of clarity and confusion. But whenever Tyler sang, she smiled and called him my angel. On the way home, Emma was thoughtful. "Daddy, Mrs. Wilson still loves Tyler, doesn't she?" "Of course she does, sweetheart." "Then Tyler was lucky he had a grandma who loved him long before he found us." "That's true," David agreed, admiring his daughter's sensitivity. "Can I visit Mrs. Wilson whenever I want?" "If she's up for it, of course," David replied, more convinced than ever that Tyler was indeed his son. That afternoon, the paternity test results arrived. David called Jennifer and the kids into the living room. With trembling hands, he opened the envelope. Probability of paternity 99.997%. Result, positive. The silence that followed was broken by Emma. "I knew it. I knew he was my brother." She ran to hug Tyler, who stood frozen. "Does this mean you're really my dad?" Tyler asked, his eyes filled with tears. "It does, son. You're my child." Jennifer stood up and left the room without a word. David found her in the bedroom crying. "Jennifer, we need to talk. I know you hate me now. I don't hate you. I'm hurt, disappointed, but I don't hate you. All these 6 years, how many times did I wonder if we made the right decision? How many times did I dream about the son we lost? He wasn't lost, Jennifer. He was growing up alone while we lived a life based on a lie. I know, and I'll never forgive myself for that. It's not about forgiveness now. It's about how we move forward as a family. Do you still consider me your family?" David thought for a few seconds. "We're the parents of Emma and Tyler. That connects us forever. But about us, as a couple, I need time to process all this." "I understand. I want you to support Tyler's integration into the family. He's already lost 6 years with us. He can't lose any more time." "I'll try, David, but it's hard. When I look at him, I remember my terrible decision. Then look at him and remember we still have time to do things differently." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. In the following weeks, the family's routine changed completely. Tyler was enrolled in the same school as Emma, in a grade appropriate for his age, but with extra tutoring to make up for lost time. The adjustment wasn't easy. In the first week, Tyler struggled to understand that he could eat whenever he was hungry, that he didn't need to save food for later. He woke up several times during the night, checking if everything was still there, if it wasn't just a dream. Emma became his greatest ally, patiently explaining the household rules, schedules, and family activities. But she also learned things from Tyler she'd never imagined. "Daddy," she said one afternoon, "Tyler taught me that when you share something good, it becomes even better." "How so?" "He said that on the streets, when someone got something tasty to eat, they'd call others to share. Because good food alone isn't as good as simple food with people you care about." David was moved by the life lesson his son was teaching the family. The first major crisis happened when Tyler found an elderly woman rummaging through the trash near the mansion's gate. Without hesitation, he took food from the fridge and brought it to her. "Tyler!" David called out. "What are you doing?" "The lady was hungry, Dad. I just gave her some food." "Son, you can't leave the house without telling us, and you can't take food without asking." "Sorry, Dad. I forgot I have to ask now." "It's not just that. You're a child, and children need protection, and helping others is beautiful, but we have to do it safely. On the streets, we didn't ask permission to help, but now you have a family who cares about you. Do you understand the difference?" Tyler nodded, but David could see the boy was struggling to grasp the boundaries and rules of a life that was entirely new to him. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why do some people have so much food they throw it away while others don't even have a little?" David paused. It was a difficult question, loaded with the boy's life experience. That's a very smart question, son, and there's no easy answer, but I can tell you that now that you're here, we can think together about ways to help others. Really? Really? What kind of help do you think would be important? Tyler thought for a few seconds. There are lots of kids on the streets who'd love to have a family like ours, but since not everyone can have a family, at least they could have a safe place to sleep and food always available. Are you thinking of a shelter? I guess so. A place where kids can stay until they find a family or grow up enough to take care of themselves. David was struck by his son's maturity and selflessness. You know what we'll do? We'll look into it. Maybe we can help in some way. The second crisis happened at school. Tyler was adapting well to his studies but struggled with social interactions. His classmates came from wealthy families and didn't understand his cultural references. One day during recess, a classmate teased him, "My mom said you were homeless before coming here, is that true?" Tyler flushed but answered, "I wasn't homeless. I was just without family for a while. My mom said people like you bring problems to the school." "What kind of problems?" Tyler asked, genuinely curious. "You steal, lie, are violent." Emma, who had overheard the conversation, stepped in. "Brandon, you're being really ignorant. My brother is more polite than you. He's not your real brother. Your parents just feel sorry for him." Emma pushed the boy, and a small fight broke out. When David was called to the school, he found Emma in the principal's office and Tyler waiting outside. "What happened?" David asked Tyler. "Emma stood up for me when a boy said bad things about me. But she didn't have to do that. I'm used to people talking badly about me." "Son, Emma did it because she loves you, and because what the boy said was wrong. But maybe he was right about some things. Maybe I shouldn't be in a school like this." David knelt beside his son. "Tyler, you have just as much right as any child to be in a good school, and you have so much to teach these kids, just like you have a lot to learn from them. What could I teach them?" "You can teach them about solidarity, about appreciating what you have, about being strong even when everything seems hard. Those are very important lessons." The principal came out of the office with Emma. "Mr. Thompson, we need to talk about the incident." "I'm listening." Emma said Brandon made inappropriate comments about Tyler. While we don't condone physical violence, we understand she was defending her brother. "And what will the consequences be?" For Emma, just a conversation about more appropriate ways to resolve conflicts. For Brandon, a one-day suspension and a talk with his parents about tolerance and respect. "What about the comments? Where did this information about Tyler come from?" The principal hesitated. "We have some parents who expressed concerns about Tyler's presence at the school." David felt anger rising inside him. "What kind of concerns?" "Mr. Thompson, understand this is an elite school. Some parents worry that children from different backgrounds might negatively influence their kids." "Influence how?" "Inappropriate behavior, improper language, different life values." David took a deep breath before responding. "Principal, my son may have come from the streets, but he's one of the most polite and kind children I know. If some parents are worried about bad influences, maybe they should look at their own kids making prejudiced comments." "Mr. Thompson, I'm not questioning Tyler's character, just explaining the situation. The situation is that some parents are prejudiced and teaching it to their kids, and instead of fighting it, the school is legitimizing these attitudes." "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that. And I want to make this clear. My children, both of them, have the right to study here without facing discrimination. If the school can't guarantee that, I'll find an institution that can." The conversation ended with the school promising to hold a talk on tolerance and diversity for all classes. On the way home, Emma held Tyler's hand. "Sorry for fighting at school." "You didn't have to defend me." "Of course I did. We're siblings. Siblings protect each other, even when one of them is different." "Tyler," David interjected, "you're not different. You're unique, just like Emma is unique. And being unique is much better than being like everyone else." That night during dinner, Jennifer made a comment that surprised everyone. "Maybe it's better to transfer Tyler to a public school. He'd fit in better with kids from similar backgrounds." "Mom," Emma protested. "Tyler likes our school. I'm thinking about his well-being, honey." "Jennifer," David said, keeping his voice steady, "Tyler's well-being doesn't depend on him being with people of similar background. It depends on him being in a school that offers good education and a respectful environment. But it's obvious he's not adjusting well. Just today there was an issue." "The issue wasn't with Tyler. It was with other people's prejudice." "David, be realistic. Tyler comes from a completely different world. Maybe it would be easier for him to be in an environment where that isn't a problem. Or maybe it's important for him and for other kids to learn to live with diversity." Tyler had stayed quiet during the argument, but now he spoke up. "Can I give my opinion?" "Of course, son. I like the school. It's hard sometimes, but I'm learning a lot, and I think the other kids can learn some things from me too." Today, after the fight, one boy came up to me. He said he'd never thought about kids living on the streets before. He asked if I wanted to be his friend. "See," Emma said to her mother, "Tyler is making friends." Jennifer didn't answer, but David noticed she seemed to be thinking it over. A few weeks later, the family had an unexpected visitor. It was Sarah, a social worker who had worked at the Hope Institute when Tyler was there. "Mr. Thompson, I heard Tyler is living with you. I came to check how he's adjusting." "He's adjusting very well. Why do you ask?" "The Institute has a responsibility to follow up with children who've been in our care, even after they're adults. And since Tyler left irregularly, when Margaret Wilson became his guardian, some procedures weren't properly completed. And when she was hospitalized, Tyler should have returned to the Institute or been placed with a foster family." David felt a chill in his stomach. "What does that mean?" "It means, technically, Tyler is still under state custody, and you don't have legal authorization to care for him. But he's my biological son. That hasn't been legally recognized yet. You only have a private paternity test. What do I need to do to fix this?" "You'll need to file for custody, undergo a psychosocial evaluation, prove you can provide adequate care, and if during this process someone questions our ability to care for him." It's a possibility, especially considering Tyler spent the last 3 years homeless. That night, David couldn't sleep. The thought of losing Tyler now, after finally finding him, was unbearable. The next morning, he went to the best family lawyer in town. "Attorney Johnson, I need your help. It's urgent." After hearing the whole story, the lawyer got straight to the point. "David, you have advantages and disadvantages in this case. The advantage is that Tyler is your biological son and is clearly adjusting well to your family. The disadvantage is that you hid his existence for 6 years. But we didn't hide it. We didn't know he was alive. You'll have to prove that. And it'll be difficult, especially since your mother-in-law was involved and has the resources to complicate things. Victoria wouldn't dare." "David, when it comes to protecting family reputation, powerful people do unthinkable things." As if summoned, Mrs. Wilson appeared in David's office that afternoon. "I heard the social worker was here. Did you send her?" "I didn't, but maybe it's a sign that it's time to rethink this situation." "What situation?" "David, this boy is causing problems at school, tension in your marriage, legal questions. Wouldn't it be simpler for everyone if he went to a family that could take better care of him?" "We take great care of him. You barely know him. It's only been a few months. What guarantee do you have that he won't develop problematic behaviors? That he won't negatively influence Emma?" "Mrs. Victoria, for heaven's sake, we're talking about my son. We're talking about a traumatized child who could bring unpredictable consequences to a stable family. You're talking as if he were a dangerous animal. I'm speaking as someone who knows life and understands that not every story has a happy ending." "And what ending do you suggest?" "A foster family with experience handling children from difficult backgrounds. You could stay in touch, visit him regularly." "That's ridiculous. He stays here with us." "David, if you insist on this path, I can guarantee it won't be easy. I have influential friends in social and legal circles. I can make sure they question your suitability as caregivers." "That's blackmail." "It's advice. After Mrs. Victoria left, David called his lawyer. "Attorney Johnson, I think we're going to have more trouble than we expected." In the following days, the pressure grew. The school began filing detailed reports on every minor incident involving Tyler. The social worker returned twice, always asking questions about the boy's adjustment. And David discovered Mrs. Victoria had hired a private investigator to look into the family's life. "Dad," Tyler said one night, "am I causing a lot of trouble for you?" "Why do you ask that?" "Because I notice everyone gets tense when someone talks about me, and Mom Jennifer sometimes looks sad when she sees me." David hesitated. He didn't want to lie to his son, but he also didn't want to worry him unnecessarily. "Son, when a family restructures, there's always an adjustment period. That's normal. But if it's easier for everyone, I can go somewhere else. I don't want you to suffer because of me." "Tyler, look at me. You're my son. Your place is here with us, and no one will separate us." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely." But David wasn't so sure. In meetings with the lawyer, it became clear the process would be long and uncertain. "The other side's strategy is obvious," Attorney Johnson explained. "They'll try to prove you failed to provide proper care for Tyler in his early years and are now trying to compensate for that abandonment out of guilt. But we didn't know he was alive. You'll have to prove that. And it won't be easy, because the people involved in the original conspiracy have a lot to lose if the truth comes out." "What kind of defense do we have?" "The best defense is showing Tyler is happy, healthy, and well-adjusted to the family. We'll need medical, psychological, and educational reports, everything proving he's thriving. And if that's still not enough, then we fight in court, but I'll be honest, it could be a long, exhausting battle." That night, David talked to Jennifer. "I need to know if I can count on you in this fight." "What do you mean?" "Whether you'll stand by our family or make things easier for your mother." Jennifer was silent for a few minutes. "David, I made a terrible mistake 6 years ago, I know that. But now seeing Tyler here, seeing how Emma loves him, seeing how you light up when you talk about him, I know he belongs in this family. Even if it means standing up to your mother, especially if it means standing up to my mother. I've let her make too many decisions for our family already." David felt immense relief. Finally, Jennifer was on the family's side. "And there's something else," Jennifer continued. "I want to start therapy, to deal with the guilt, the depression I've felt since Tyler arrived, and to become a better mother to both of them." "I think that's an excellent idea. And I want our whole family to do family therapy, so we can learn how to be a real family." David agreed. It would be another tool to show the court that they were committed to Tyler's well-being. The family therapy began the following week. The psychologist Dr. Bennett was an expert in adoption and family reunification. "I want each of you to tell me how you feel about Tyler joining the family," she asked in the first session. "Emma was the first, and I'm so happy. I've always wanted a brother, and now I have the best brother in the world." David spoke about the joy of finding his son, but also the guilt of missing so many important years. Jennifer admitted her struggles. "I feel guilty for hiding his existence, and sometimes I'm afraid he won't forgive me when he fully understands what happened." Tyler was last. "I feel like I won the lottery, but sometimes I'm scared I'll wake up and find out it was all a dream." "Why do you feel that fear?" Dr. Bennett asked. "Because good things usually don't last long in my life." "What if I told you good things can last forever if we take care of them?" "I'd really like to believe that." The therapy sessions became a safe space for the family to express fears, expectations, and hopes. They also became important evidence for the legal case. But Mrs. Wilson hadn't given up. One afternoon, she showed up at Tyler's school and asked to speak with him. "Tyler, can I talk to you for a moment?" The boy, who had been taught to respect his elders, agreed. "I want you to know I have nothing against you personally. You seem like a very good boy." "Thank you, ma'am. But I'm worried about this family. David and Jennifer are going through a lot of trouble because of you." "What kind of trouble?" "Marital problems, financial issues with lawyers, problems at the company because David is too distracted." Tyler looked visibly worried. "I didn't know." "And there's more. Emma is having trouble at school because she's always defending you. The other kids are pulling away from her." "Is that true?" And Jennifer is taking anxiety medication. She wasn't taking it before you came. Tyler lowered his head. If I left, would the problems go away? Probably. And you could visit often. It would be almost like being part of the family, just without all the stress. When Tyler got home that afternoon, he was visibly upset. During dinner, he was quieter than usual. Did something happen at school? David asked. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you having problems at work because of me? David and Jennifer exchanged glances. Why do you ask? Someone told me you've been really distracted at work and it's causing issues. Who said that? Grandma Victoria. David felt his anger rise. Son, it's true I've been dedicating more time to our family lately, but that's not a problem. It's a choice. And is Mom Jennifer taking medicine because of me? Jennifer took a deep breath. Tyler, I'm in therapy and taking anxiety medication, but it's not because of you. It's because of the bad decisions I made in the past. And is Emma losing friends because she defends me? Emma is learning to be selective with friendships. And that's a good thing, David replied. But maybe it would be easier for everyone if I lived somewhere else. Tyler, Emma exclaimed, don't say that. You're my brother. I don't want you to leave. Son, David said firmly, there's no place in the world where you'd be better off than here with us, and anyone who says otherwise is lying. But, no buts, you're my son, our son, and no one will separate us. That night, David called Mrs. Wilson. Mrs. Wilson, you crossed every line today. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You spoke with Tyler at school, trying to convince him it would be better for everyone if he left. I just showed the boy the reality of the situation. You manipulated a child. David, this boy is destroying your family, and you're too blind to see it. My family has never been more united. Your company is losing important contracts because you've lost focus. Jennifer is on antidepressants. Emma is being isolated by her classmates. How do you know about Jennifer's medication? I have my sources. That's a violation of privacy. It's family protection. Mrs. Wilson, I'll be very clear. If you approach my son again, if you try to manipulate him in any way, I'll file a lawsuit against you. You wouldn't do that. Try me. The conversation ended tensely, and David knew the war was officially declared. In the following days, the pressure only grew. David's company really started having problems, but not because of his lack of focus. He discovered that some important clients had received concerning information about the stability of the Thompson family. Someone is spreading rumors about you, his partner Mark warned him, saying you're going through serious personal issues, that it could affect business. Any idea who it could be? Do you have any powerful enemies? David didn't need to think long. I do. The situation got even more complicated when the official custody process began. The judge assigned to the case was known for being strict on child welfare matters. At the first hearing, Mrs. Wilson appeared as a concerned party, claiming she was worried about her grandson's well-being. Your Honor, her lawyer said, my client is concerned about this family's haste in integrating a traumatized child without proper preparation and professional support. And what would your suggestion be? The judge asked. A foster family specialized in children with street backgrounds, one that can provide proper therapeutic care while the Thompson family adequately prepares for a possible future integration. David felt his blood boil, but Attorney Johnson calmed him with a look. Your Honor, Attorney Johnson countered, the boy has been living with his biological family for 4 months and has shown excellent adaptation. We have medical, psychological, and educational reports that prove this. Separating the child now would be extremely traumatic. I'd like to hear from the child, the judge decided. Tyler was called to testify. David was nervous, but the boy remained calm and articulate. Tyler, how do you feel living with the Thompson family? I feel happy, Your Honor. For the first time in my life, I feel like I belong somewhere. And at school, how's your adjustment? At first it was hard because some kids made jokes about me living on the streets, but now I have friends and I'm learning a lot. If you could choose, where would you want to live? With my family, Your Honor. With my dad, my mom, and my sister. Why? Because they love me for who I am, and because I love them too. The boy's simple, sincere answer visibly moved the judge. Thank you, Tyler. You may return to your family. The hearing was postponed so the judge could review all the documents and reports. 2 weeks later, the decision came. Tyler could stay with the Thompson family, but under child services supervision for 6 months. It's a partial victory, Attorney Johnson explained. He stays with you, but you'll have to prove over these 6 months that you're truly the best option for him. And if we succeed, then custody will become permanent. And if we don't, I'd rather not think about that possibility. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. During the 6 months of supervision, the Thompson family went through every possible evaluation. Social workers visited the home regularly. Psychologists interviewed each family member. Teachers provided detailed reports on Tyler's progress. Every minor incident was scrutinized under a microscope. When Tyler got into a fight with a classmate at school, a common scuffle among kids, a 3-page report was required to explain the context and measures taken. When Emma had a jealous outburst because Tyler was receiving so much attention from his parents, an extra family therapy session was needed to explain that it was a normal reaction. When Tyler had nightmares for a week after watching a movie unsuitable for his age, a psychological report was necessary to explain that occasional nightmares were normal for children with a history of trauma. It's exhausting, Jennifer remarked to David. I feel like we're being judged all the time. That's exactly what's happening, but it's worth it. Tyler is thriving. It was true. In those 6 months of supervision, Tyler had become a completely different child. More confident, more communicative, more self-assured. His school reports showed remarkable progress. He had made solid friends, and his bond with each family member was growing stronger. With Emma, he'd developed a typical sibling camaraderie. They played together, argued occasionally, but always had each other's backs. With Jennifer, the relationship had started off rocky, but through therapy and time, she learned to see him not as a reminder of past mistakes, but as a chance to do better. With David, there was a deep connection. The boy soaked up every lesson, every moment together, as if making up for all the lost years. Dad, Tyler asked one night, can I ask you a kind of tough question? Of course, son. If you'd known from the start that I existed, but also knew I'd get sick and be a lot of trouble, would you still have wanted me? David stopped what he was doing and looked straight at his son. Tyler, no matter what could have happened, you'd always be my son, and I'd always want you. Even if I were different. Especially if you were different, because it's our differences that make our family more interesting. What if one day I do something really wrong? Then we'll talk about what happened, you'll learn from it, and we'll move forward. Because that's what families do. Forever? Forever. 3 days before the supervision period ended, Mrs. Wilson made her final attempt. She showed up at the house unannounced during dinner. I need to speak with you, it's urgent. Mrs. Wilson, now isn't a good time, David said. It's about Tyler. I've uncovered information that could be important for the case. What information? The boy here might not be your son. The silence that followed was deafening. What do you mean? Jennifer asked. I found out that at the Hope Institute, there was another child the same age with similar physical traits. It's possible there was a mix-up. That's ridiculous, David said. We have a DNA test. DNA tests can be faked, especially when money is involved. Are you implying we faked a test? I'm saying it's a possibility that should be investigated. And why are you bringing this up now? Attorney Johnson asked. Because I only just discovered it. Or because this is a last desperate attempt to tear this family apart, David shot back. If you have nothing to hide, you wouldn't mind taking a second test with a different lab and judicial supervision. David looked at Tyler, who had turned pale. Dad, what if I'm really not your son? You are my son. By blood or by heart, you are my son. But what if the test comes back different? It won't. But even if it did, nothing would change between us. Are you sure? Absolutely. The second test was conducted under judicial supervision at a different lab with every possible security measure. The results took a week to come back. During that week, the family lived in constant tension. Tyler was especially anxious, and David noticed the boy was mentally preparing himself for the possibility of not being his biological son. "Son, come here," David called Tyler into his office. "I want to tell you something." "Yes, Dad. No matter what the test says, you are my son. Do you understand that?" "I understand that you want me to be your son." "No, you are my son. Fatherhood isn't just biological. It's emotional, it's care, it's love, it's being present. And in every one of those ways, you've been my son for a long time." "What if Grandma Victoria is right?" "Then she'd be right about the blood, but wrong about what really matters." "And Emma? Would she be sad if she found out we're not blood siblings?" "Why don't you ask her?" David called Emma, who was playing in the yard. "Emma, come here. Tyler has a question for you." "Emma," Tyler said nervously, "if you found out we weren't blood siblings, would you still consider me your brother?" Emma looked at him as if it were the most obvious question in the world. "Of course you're my brother because we love each other, not because of blood. Blood is just red liquid inside us." "Really? Really? And you know why? Because there are lots of people who are blood siblings and don't even like each other. And there are people who aren't related but love each other like family. What matters is the heart, not the blood." David was moved by his daughter's wisdom. "See, son, no test result changes that." On the day of the results, the whole family went to the lab. Attorney Johnson was also there, along with the social worker assigned to the case. The lab technician opened the sealed envelope in front of everyone. Probability of paternity, 99.98%. Result, positive. The relief was palpable. Tyler hugged David, who felt tears of happiness rolling down his face. "I knew it," Emma shouted, jumping for joy. "I knew he was my brother." Even Jennifer cried with relief. Mrs. Wilson, who was also present, looked visibly disappointed. "This changes nothing," she muttered. "I still think—" "Mrs. Wilson," the social worker interrupted, "I think we've seen enough evidence that Tyler is right where he belongs, with the right family." A week later, the judge's final decision arrived. Custody of Tyler was permanently granted to the Thompson family. That night, they held a small celebration at home, just family and close friends. "I'd like to make a toast," David said, raising his glass of juice, since Emma and Tyler weren't allowed to drink yet. "A year ago, our family had a missing piece. Today, we're complete. Tyler, you didn't just join our family, you completed it." "Dad," Tyler said, emotional, "can I say something?" "Of course, son. For a long time, I thought I had no family, that I was alone in the world. But now I understand that family isn't just about where you're born. It's about where you're loved, where you belong, where you can be yourself." "And do you know where you belong?" Emma asked. "I do. Here, with you, forever." The celebration lasted late into the night, filled with stories, laughter, and plans for the future. A few weeks later, David received an unexpected call. "Mr. Thompson, this is Charles, director of the Hope Institute. I'd like to speak with you about a proposal." "I'm listening." "I heard about Tyler's story and was deeply moved by the happy ending. I'd like to propose a partnership." "What kind of partnership?" "Have you ever thought about helping other children in the same situation Tyler was in?" David grew interested. "Go on." "We have many children at the Institute who need families, and we also have former staff, like Mrs. Wilson, who need support. I thought perhaps we could create a sponsorship program." "How would it work?" "Families like yours could sponsor children or seniors connected to the Institute. Not necessarily adoption, but regular support, visits, educational help." David was excited by the idea. "Can I discuss it with my family and get back to you?" "Of course, and Mr. Thompson." "Yes?" "Thank you for proving that not every lost story is truly lost." That evening, David talked to his family about the proposal. "What do you think about helping other children?" "Can we sponsor a boy to be Tyler's brother?" Emma asked. "Not exactly a brother, sweetheart. It would be a child we'd help grow and develop. Like they're part of the family. Like they're part of our extended family." "I'd really like that," Tyler said. "I know what it's like to have no family. If we can help someone avoid that." "And maybe we can help Mrs. Wilson too," Jennifer suggested. "Pay for better care for her." "Excellent idea," David agreed. And so the Thompson family became involved in a bigger project. They sponsored 2 children from the Institute, Michael, an 8-year-old who had lost his parents in an accident, and Joanna, a 10-year-old who had been abandoned by her parents at age 5. Tyler became like an older brother to them, sharing his experience and helping them believe better days would come. "You know what's funny?" Tyler remarked to David a few months later. "What, son?" "When I was on the streets, I always dreamed of having a family, but I never imagined I'd one day help other kids find their families too. And how does helping make you feel?" "Useful, like my bad experience turned into something good. That's called turning pain into purpose." I like that phrase. 2 years after Tyler joined the family, David was in his office reviewing the sponsorship reports when Emma and Tyler rushed in. "Daddy," Emma shouted, "Michael got adopted." "What do you mean?" "A family who met him through our project decided to adopt him," Tyler explained, emotional. David was moved. This was the 3rd adoption through their project. "And Joanna?" "Her too. The same family wants to adopt both because they're such good friends." "That's wonderful. Can I throw them a goodbye party?" Emma asked. "Of course. And can we start sponsoring other kids?" "Let's talk to the Institute." That night at dinner, Jennifer made an announcement. "I have news to share." "What news?" David asked. "I spoke with my mother today." Silence fell. Mrs. Victoria hadn't spoken to the family since the 2nd DNA test incident. And she apologized. To all of us, but especially to Tyler. "Really?" Tyler asked, surprised. "Really. She said she spent these 2 years watching our family from afar and realized she was wrong about everything." "What does she want now?" "To meet her grandson, for real this time." David looked at Tyler. "What do you think, son?" Tyler thought for a moment. "I think people can change, and if she really wants to be family, we can give her a chance." "Are you sure?" "I am." "Mrs. Wilson always said that holding on to grudges only hurts the one who holds them, not the one who caused the pain." "Then let's talk to her," David decided. The reunion with Mrs. Victoria happened the following week. The woman who appeared at the Thompsons' doorstep was visibly different from the one who had caused so much trouble 2 years earlier. More humble, more fragile, less imposing. "Tyler," she said, approaching timidly, "I'd like to apologize to you. I was unfair, prejudiced, and cruel." "It's okay, Grandma, it's in the past. Can I give you a hug?" Tyler hesitated for a few seconds, then opened his arms. Mrs. Victoria hugged him and cried, "Forgive me, my grandson. Forgive me for not seeing the treasure you are. Would you like to meet my foster siblings?" "You have foster siblings?" "It's a long story," David interjected. "Come, let's talk." Over the next few hours, the family told Mrs. Victoria about the foster care project, the children they had helped, and their future plans. "You've created a network of families?" she asked, amazed. "We've created a network of love," Emma replied. "And it all started with you trying to tear our family apart," Tyler said without bitterness. "What do you mean?" "If you hadn't put so much pressure on us, maybe we never would have realized how strong our family is. And maybe we never would have thought to help others." Mrs. Victoria fell silent, processing what she'd heard. "So my attempt to destroy you ended up making you stronger?" "Exactly," David confirmed. "And now you forgive me and welcome me back into the family?" "Mrs. Wilson," Tyler said, "family is about forgiveness, second chances, and love even when people do wrong things. You forgive me after everything?" "I do. And I hope you'll teach me some grandma things I don't know yet." "Like what?" "Like how to bake a cake, how to knit, how to tell old family stories." Mrs. Wilson smiled through her tears. "It would be an honor to teach you those things, my grandson." In the months that followed, Mrs. Wilson became a present and loving grandmother. She helped with the foster care project, using her influence and resources to expand the program's reach. "You know," she told David at one of their meetings, "I think Tyler has taught me more about family in these 6 months than I learned in 70 years of life." "How so?" "He showed me that family isn't about control, power, or keeping up appearances. It's about unconditional love, accepting people as they are. And about forgiveness. Especially about forgiveness." On the 3rd anniversary of Tyler joining the family, they threw a big celebration. It wasn't just a family gathering, but also a commemoration of the foster care project, which had already helped over 50 children. During the party, David gave a speech. "3 years ago, we thought our family was complete. Emma was our joy, our fulfillment. But we learned that family isn't about being complete. It's about being open to growing, to including, to loving more. Tyler didn't just join our family. He taught us what it means to be family. He taught us that love doesn't shrink when shared. It multiplies. He taught us that every person we welcome into our lives makes us richer, not poorer." And today, looking around at this celebration, I don't just see our family. I see a community, a network of people who care for each other, who help each other, who love each other. Tyler asked to speak. "When I was little and living on the streets, I'd look at houses with their lights on and imagine what it would be like to have a family. I imagined what it would be like to have people who cared about me, who knew my name, who missed me when I wasn't around. Now I know what it's like, and it's better than I imagined, because it's not just about having a family. It's about being part of something bigger, about being able to help others have what I have. Thank you, Dad, for never giving up on me. Thank you, Mom, for learning to love me. Thank you, Emma, for seeing a brother in me before I even knew I could be one. And thank you, Grandma Victoria, for showing me it's never too late to change." The party went on late into the night, with children running through the garden, adults talking about future plans, and the Thompson family at the center of it all, proudly watching the community of love they'd helped create. A few weeks later, David received a call that would change the family's course once again. "Mr. Thompson, this is Dr. Sarah from Sunset Memorial Hospital. Can you come here? We have a delicate situation." "What kind of situation?" "I'd rather explain in person. Can you bring Tyler?" David grew worried but agreed to go. At the hospital, Dr. Sarah greeted them with a serious expression. "Mr. Thompson, we received an abandoned child 3 days ago, a boy about 4 years old." "And what does that have to do with us?" "The boy has a very specific birthmark. When I saw it, I remembered Tyler's case." "What do you mean?" "The boy has a mark identical to Tyler's and Emma's on his wrist." David felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. "Is that possible?" "Extremely rare, but possible. Especially if it's another sibling." "Another sibling?" "Mr. Thompson, it's possible Jennifer had triplets, not twins." David had to lean against the wall. "Where is the boy?" "In the pediatric ward. He's healthy but very frightened and won't speak to anyone." "Can I see him?" "Of course, but please don't get your hopes up. It might just be a coincidence." When David and Tyler entered the room, they saw a small boy with light hair curled up on a bed too big for him. When the child looked up and saw Tyler, something extraordinary happened. "Brother," the boy shouted, reaching out his little arms. Tyler looked at David, asking for permission. David nodded, still in shock. Tyler walked to the bed, and the boy clung to him like a lifeline. "How do you know I'm your brother?" Tyler asked gently. "I dream about you every night. You call me to play." David felt tears streaming down his face. The same thing that had happened with Emma was happening again. "What's your name?" Tyler asked. "I don't know. The lady who took care of me called me Little One." "And where is she?" "She got very sick and had to leave. She said my family would find me." David stepped closer to the bed. "Hi, Little One. My name is David. Are you my brother's daddy?" "I am." "Then are you my daddy too?" David looked at Tyler, who nodded encouragingly. "Maybe so, son. We'll find out, okay?" In the following days, They repeated the entire process they'd gone through with Tyler. Medical exams, paternity tests, investigating the boy's history. The boy, whom they began calling Ethan, a name chosen by Emma, had been cared for by a woman named Mary Grace, who had passed on the information to a neighbor before being hospitalized with terminal cancer. She said the boy had family, that one day they'd find each other where, the neighbor explained. She said he dreamed of siblings every night. The paternity test confirmed it. Ethan was indeed Tyler and Emma's brother. How was this possible? David asked the doctor. How were triplets separated? From what we've pieced together from old records, all three babies were born premature. Emma was the strongest, Tyler had heart issues, and Ethan had severe respiratory problems. In the chaos after birth and under pressure from Mrs. Wilson's family, the records were altered to show only Emma. And where did Ethan go? To a family specializing in respiratory care. But when his condition improved at age 2, the family moved to the countryside and left him with Mary Grace, who was a distant relative of theirs. And she never tried to contact us. From what the neighbor says, Mary Grace was instructed not to reach out to the biological family. They said it was better for everyone. David felt the anger rise again over the conspiracy that had torn his family apart. Ethan's integration was even more challenging than Tyler's. The boy was younger, more traumatized, and had gone through more caregiver changes. But he had two advantages. Tyler didn't. He had siblings who understood exactly what he was going through. Tyler became Ethan's protector and guide, teaching him everything about family life. Emma became his partner in play and discovery. Ethan, Tyler said one of the first nights his brother was home, I know you're scared. I was scared too when I got here. Did it go away? It did. And you know why? Because here we're loved, really loved. No matter what you do, no matter how you feel, they'll keep loving you. Even if I do something wrong? Even if you do something wrong. Because family doesn't just love you when you're perfect. Family loves you most when you need love. Over the next few weeks, the house became a real laboratory of discovery. Ethan was learning basic things like hot showers, a full fridge, and a soft bed. But he was also grasping more complex concepts like routine, rules, and boundaries. Why do we have to brush our teeth every day? He asked Emma. To keep them pretty and avoid pain. And why do we have to sleep at the same time every night? So our bodies rest well and we grow up strong. And why do we have to put away toys after playing? Because when we take care of things, they last longer. Ethan soaked up every explanation like a sponge, trying to understand the rules of this new world. Family therapy now included 3 children, and Dr. Bennett was impressed by the family's dynamic. It's extraordinary to see how Tyler and Emma are helping Ethan adjust. They've become natural therapists. How so? David asked. They explain things in a way Ethan understands because they've been through similar experiences. Tyler understands the trauma of abandonment. Emma understands the anxiety of being accepted. Together, they're giving Ethan exactly what he needs. And how is Ethan handling all this? Better than I expected. He has an advantage Tyler didn't. He came into a family that already knew how to handle children from traumatic backgrounds. 3 months after Ethan's arrival, the family got another surprise. Jennifer was pregnant. How do you feel about this? David asked, worried about the added strain. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared I won't be able to give everyone enough attention. Scared of repeating past mistakes. What's your biggest fear? That the kids will feel like the baby is more important than them. How do you think we should handle it? By talking to them, being honest about our fears and expectations. That night, they gathered all 3 children in the living room. We have some news to share, David began. We're going to have a baby in the family, Jennifer added. The reaction was immediate. A real baby, Emma squealed excitedly. Will it be another brother? Tyler asked, smiling. Will the baby like me? Ethan asked, worried. Of course they'll like you, Emma reassured. All babies love their big siblings. How will we take care of them? Tyler asked. Together, David answered. As a family. Can I teach the baby how to play? Ethan asked. You can. When they're a little older, you'll be a great play teacher. And I'll teach him how to read, Emma declared. And I'll teach him about family, Tyler said. Jennifer cried with emotion, seeing the children's positive reaction. Aren't you afraid the baby will take attention away from you? Mum, Emma said, love isn't like food that runs out when you share it. Love is like light. It grows stronger the more people it shines on. David and Jennifer exchanged glances, amazed by their daughter's wisdom. During Jennifer's pregnancy, the whole family got involved in the preparations. Tyler helped assemble the crib, Emma picked out the baby's clothes, and Ethan decided he would share his toys with his little brother. Dad, Tyler said one afternoon, can I ask you something? Of course, son. If the baby comes and our family gets really big, will you still have time for me? David stopped what he was doing and looked straight at his son. Tyler, no matter how many children I have, no matter how big our family grows, there will always be a special place in my heart just for you, because you're the one who taught me that a father's love has no limits. Really, really. And you know what else? And you know, the more children I have, the prouder I am of each of you. When Jennifer went into labor, the whole family was at the hospital. Mrs. Wilson, who had become a devoted grandmother, watched the 3 children in the waiting room. Grandma, Ethan asked, does it hurt when babies are born? No, sweetheart. Babies are born eager to meet their families. And do they already know we're their siblings? Yes, they do. Babies are very smart. When David came out of the delivery room with tears in his eyes, the children grew worried. Daddy, why are you crying? Emma asked. I'm crying from joy, honey. You have a baby sister. A sister? Ethan shouted, bouncing excitedly. What does she look like? Tyler asked. Tiny, rosy, with lots of dark hair. Can I see her? Emma asked. You can all see her, but one at a time and very gently. Emma went first. When she saw her baby sister in the crib, she whispered, Hi, little one. I'm your sister, Emma. I'll teach you everything about our family. Tyler was next. He looked at the baby for a long time, then said, Hi, sis, I'm Tyler. You're lucky to be born into a family that already loves you so much. Ethan was last. He approached the crib carefully, gently touched the baby's tiny hand and said, Hi, little sister. I'm Ethan. I promise I'll always take care of you. When everyone gathered in the room, Jennifer was radiant. What should we name our princess? David asked. Hope, Tyler said immediately. Why? Jennifer asked. Because Mrs. Wilson always said I was her hope, and now this baby is our hope that our family is finally complete. Hope Thompson, David tested the name. I like it. Me too, Emma agreed. And me, Ethan said. Then it's Hope, Jennifer decided. 5 years had passed since Tyler joined the family. Now the Thompsons were 7. David, Jennifer, Emma, 11, Tyler, 11, Ethan, 9, Hope, 4, and Mrs. Wilson, who had moved in to help with the children. The sponsorship project had grown into a formal organization, helping over 200 children find families. David had left his company to focus entirely on the project, and Jennifer worked as an educational coordinator. Dad, Tyler said one Saturday morning, can I talk to you? Of course, son, what's on your mind? I've been thinking about my life, our family, everything that's happened. And I realized something. My story isn't about a child who was abandoned. It's about a child who was found. What do you mean? When I was little, I thought I'd lost my family, but really my family was here waiting for me all along. I just needed to grow up enough to find her. David was moved by his son's maturity. And how do you feel about it? Grateful. Because if things had happened differently, maybe I never would have learned about solidarity, about strength, about not giving up. And maybe our family never would have learned about welcoming, about forgiving, about loving without limits. Do you think everything happened for a reason? I think the bad things that happen to us only make sense when we can turn them into something good for others. And did you turn your story into something good? We did. Our whole family did. And now other families are changing too. That afternoon, the whole family was gathered in the yard for their traditional Sunday barbecue. The kids played, Jennifer and Mrs. Wilson chatted about the organization's new projects, and David watched the scene with a full heart. What are you thinking about? Jennifer asked, walking over. I'm thinking that 8 years ago I thought I knew what family was. I thought family was Emma and you, simple, predictable, controllable. And now? Now I know family is far more complex and far more beautiful than I imagined. It's about finding lost people. It's about forgiving past mistakes. It's about making room at the table for those who need a place. It's about growing together, especially when it's hard. And if you could go back in time and change something? David thought for a few seconds, watching the kids play in the yard. I wouldn't change a thing, because every hardship we faced brought us here. And here is exactly where we're meant to be. Emma came running over. Daddy, Mummy, come see. Ethan taught Hope how to build a sandcastle. And Tyler's telling the story of how our family found each other, Ethan shouted from afar. David and Jennifer walked over to where the kids were gathered. Tyler sat on the grass with Hope in his lap, telling the story she loved to hear. Once upon a time, there was a family that didn't know it was incomplete, Tyler said in a dramatic voice. There was a daddy, a mommy, and a very smart little girl. They were happy, but something was missing. What was missing? Hope asked, even though she already knew the answer. 2 lost brothers, one who lived on the streets and dreamed of a family, and another who lived with a kind lady, but also dreamed of finding his siblings. And how did they find each other? Oh, that's the most beautiful part of the story. The smart little girl had a special power. She could recognize her family even when she didn't know them. How? With her heart. Because the heart always knows where our place in the world is. David was moved hearing his son tell their story like a fairy tale. And after they found each other, did they live happily ever after? Hope asked. They lived happily ever after, but not because they never had problems again. They lived happily because they learned that family is about sticking together through problems and joys. It's about never giving up on each other. And about always making room for more love, Emma added. And about forgiving when someone does something wrong, Ethan chimed in. And about taking care of each other, Hope said, repeating something she'd learned. David stepped closer to the group. And about being grateful for every day we have together, he said, joining the circle. And about turning our bad experiences into help for others, Jennifer finished, sitting down too. And about never forgetting that family isn't about blood, it's about love, Mrs. Wilson said, arriving last. They sat there in the yard watching the sunset, each reflecting on the journey that had brought them there. Dad, Tyler said eventually, can I ask one more question? Always, son. If another long-lost brother ever shows up, do we have room? David laughed. Son, our table and our hearts will always have space for anyone who needs family. What if a long-lost sister shows up? That too. What if a long-lost cousin shows up? That too. What if a friend who needs family shows up? That too. What if... Tyler, Emma interrupted, laughing. I think he gets it. Our family always has room for more love. True, Tyler agreed. I just wanted to be sure. When it was already dark and the children had been put to bed, David and Jennifer stayed on the porch talking about their plans for the future. Do you think our kids understood the importance of our family's story? Jennifer asked. I think they understood it better than we did. They've lived what it means to welcome, forgive, and include. For them, it's natural. And do you think they'll carry these lessons into their own families? I'm sure of it. Tyler already talks about adopting kids when he grows up. Emma wants to be a social worker. Ethan wants to open a home for children without families. And Hope? Hope is still very young, but she's already showing signs of inheriting her siblings' sensitivity toward people who need help. Then we did it. We turned our experience into something bigger. We did. And you know what else? I think Mrs. Wilson and Mary Grace would be proud to see what became of the boys they cared for with so much love. They definitely would. They fell silent for a few minutes, watching the stars. David? Yes? Thank you. For what? For never giving up. For fighting for our family even when I doubted it would work. And thank you for learning to love the boys the way they deserve to be loved. It was easy. Once I realized they weren't reminders of my mistakes but a chance to do better, everything became simpler. And your mother? How do you feel about her now? Grateful. I know it sounds strange, but I'm grateful she changed. That she recognized her mistakes and became the grandmother our children deserve. She really did transform. People can change, can't they, when they have enough motivation? And what was her motivation? Love for her grandchildren. She realized she'd lose them all if she stayed the way she was. And learning to love Tyler and Ethan must have shifted her perspective on so many things. It did. Yesterday she told me they taught her more about courage and kindness than any book she's ever read. David smiled. It was true. The children had a way of transforming the people around them. A few months later, the family received an unexpected invitation. The city wanted to honor them as Family of the Year for their work with vulnerable children. Will you accept the honor? The secretary asked over the phone. David looked at his family gathered in the living room. Can I give you an answer tomorrow? Of course. After hanging up, David explained the invitation to everyone. What do you all think? I think it'd be good to show other families that adoption and fostering work, Tyler said. And it might encourage more people to help children, Emma agreed. But I don't want to be famous, Ethan said, worried. No one's going to be famous, son. It's just a way to recognize the work we do. And if it helps more children find families, it's worth it, Jennifer said. So, do we accept? David asked. We accept, they all answered in unison. The award ceremony was emotional. Many families helped by their project were there, along with children still waiting for sponsors. During the acceptance speech, David asked Tyler to speak. I'm not really sure what to say, Tyler began nervously. All I know is that our family proves everyone deserves a second chance. I deserved a second chance when my father found me. Ethan deserved a second chance when he found us. My grandma Victoria deserved a second chance when she learned to love us, and every child you've helped through the project also deserves a second chance, because everyone has something good to offer the world. They just need someone to believe in them. Our family isn't special because we're perfect. We're special because we've learned that family is about including, not excluding. It's about adding, not dividing. It's about creating space, not building walls. The audience fell silent for a few seconds, then erupted in applause. After the ceremony, many people approached the family, wanting to learn more about the project, adoption, and how they could help. You've inspired so many people today, one woman told David. It wasn't us who inspired them. It was our children. They taught us everything we know about family. 6 months after the tribute, the project had tripled in size. Over 50 new families had signed up to mentor or adopt children. Daddy, Hope said one morning, why are there so many children without families? That's a hard question, sweetheart. Sometimes the children's parents can't take care of them. Sometimes they get sick. Sometimes they face really big problems. But why don't other families adopt all the children? Because some people are afraid. They think it might be too hard, that it might not work out. But our family worked out. It did. And that's why it's important to tell our story, to show others that it really can work. Can I help tell our story? Of course you can. How? I'll draw our family to show how happy we were when everyone found each other. Hope spent the afternoon drawing. When she finished, she showed the whole family, a colorful picture with 7 stick figures all holding hands with big smiles on their faces. Can we hang this drawing in the project's office? David asked. Yes. And can I write a message underneath? What message? Family is where love lives. David was moved by the simplicity and depth of his 4-year-old daughter's words. It's perfect, sweetheart. Hope's drawing was framed and placed at the entrance of the project's office, and the phrase, "Family is where love lives," became the organization's official motto. A year later, on a Sunday morning, just like that first morning when Tyler appeared at the gate, the family was gathered in the garden for breakfast. You know what I've been thinking? Emma said, looking around the table. What? Everyone asked. I've been thinking our story is like one of those movies we watch, where we think things like this only happen on TV. Why? Ethan asked. Because it has everything: a lost family that finds each other, bad people who become good, sad children who become happy, and an ending where everyone stays together and happy. But our story is real, Tyler reminded them. Exactly. And that's the best part. It proves beautiful things can really happen, not just in movies. And our story isn't over yet, David said. We still have many years ahead, many adventures to live together. And many children to help, Jennifer added. And many families to bring together, Mrs. Wilson finished. And so much love to share, Hope said, repeating a phrase she'd heard from her siblings. They sat there, enjoying the sunny morning, each reflecting on the journey they'd taken and the plans ahead. Dad, Tyler eventually said, can I give you a hug? Of course, son. Always. As he hugged his son, David thought of all the times he had almost lost this chance, of all the forces that had tried to pull them apart, through all the obstacles they overcame together. What are you thinking about? Tyler asked, noticing his father was emotional. I'm thinking that you saved me. How so? You're the one who saved me. No, son. You saved me from a life where I thought I knew what love was, what family was, what truly mattered. You taught me I knew none of those things. And now you do? Now I know that the more we love, the more room there is in the heart to love even more. I know family isn't about blood, it's about choice. I know forgiving isn't forgetting, it's deciding that love is stronger than hurt. You learned all that from me? I learned it from you, from Emma, from Ethan, from Hope, from your mother, even from your grandma Victoria. I learned that everyone has something to teach if we're willing to learn. And what will you do with everything you've learned? I'll keep learning, and I'll try to teach others that family is about opening doors, not closing them. It's about including, not excluding. It's about giving chances, not taking away hope. How will you do that? The way we're doing it now. One day at a time, one family at a time, one child at a time. Can I help? Of course you can. You've been helping for a long time. How? By existing, by being who you are, showing the world that every child deserves love and every family can grow. That afternoon, as the children played in the garden and the adults chatted on the porch, David received a call that surprised him. Mr. Thompson, this is Robert Taylor, director of the American Families program on television. We'd like to do a feature on your family. What kind of feature? About how a family can rebuild and grow through love and adoption. Your story reached us through the city, and we find it very inspiring. I need to talk to my family before giving an answer. Of course. But I can say it would be a positive piece, focusing on the example you set for other families. David gathered the whole family to discuss the proposal. What do you all think? It could be a good opportunity to show that families like ours work. Will we be on TV? Ethan asked excitedly. Most likely, yes. And a lot of people will see our story? Emma asked. Yes. Then I think we should do it, Tyler said. If our story can help other kids find families, it's worth it. I agree, Jennifer added. Me too, Mrs. Wilson said. It might be a way to show that people can change and it's never too late to do the right thing. Then it's decided, David concluded. The filming took place a few weeks later. The TV crew was impressed by the family's natural warmth. You're exactly as we imagined, the reporter said. A real family, with real struggles, but also with real love. During the interview, each family member shared their part of the story. David spoke about discovering his children and fighting to keep the family together. Jennifer talked about overcoming guilt and learning to be a mother to 4 kids. Emma shared how she always knew she had siblings out there somewhere. Tyler spoke about going from a street kid to part of a loving family. Ethan talked about finding a place where he belonged. Hope, though young, said she loved all her siblings equally. And Mrs. Wilson spoke about learning that love matters more than social conventions. What's the biggest lesson you've learned as a family? The reporter asked at the end. That family isn't about perfection, David answered. It's about persistence. It's about never giving up on each other, even when things get hard. And that every child deserves a family, Tyler added. And it's never too late to change, Mrs. Wilson finished. The story aired on a Thursday night and had a much greater impact than the family expected. The next day, the project's phone wouldn't stop ringing. We want to adopt a child. How do we do it? We have a big house and so much love to give. Can we help? Our family has also been through similar situations. How can we get involved in the project? In the following months, over 100 new families registered with the project, and not just in Los Angeles but in cities across the country that wanted to replicate the initiative. You've started a movement, said the city's social services secretary. Other cities are asking for help to implement similar projects. It's amazing how one story can inspire so many others, Jennifer commented. It's because our story isn't unique, David reflected. There are thousands of children waiting for families, and thousands of families who could take them in. They just need encouragement and support. A year after the story aired, David was organizing the project's paperwork when he found a letter that had arrived that morning. It was from a woman named Deborah in Miami who wrote, "Mr. Thompson, my name is Deborah and I'm 45 years old. I watched your story on TV and cried from start to finish. I have 2 biological children, but I've always felt there was room in my heart for more. My husband thought I was crazy, that we already had enough to worry about. But after seeing your family, he changed his mind. Yesterday, we adopted a 7-year-old girl who had been in the shelter for 3 years. Her name is Mary, and she said she always dreamed of having siblings. Thank you for showing us that love truly has no limits." David called the family to share the letter. "Look what our story has done," he said, reading it aloud. "Mary has a family now," Emma exclaimed, clapping her hands. "And 2 new siblings," Ethan added. "That means our story is helping kids even in other states," Tyler observed, amazed. "How many letters like this have you gotten?" Mrs. Wilson asked. David glanced at the pile of mail on the table. "Over 300, from all over the United States. Families telling us how our story inspired them to adopt, to mentor, to volunteer at shelters." 300 families, Jennifer repeated, moved. "And those are just the ones who wrote. Imagine how many others were touched but didn't send anything." Hope, now 5, tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, does that mean our family helped lots of other families?" "It sure does, sweetheart." "So are we like superheroes?" David laughed. "We're just a regular family who figured out loving more people is more fun than loving fewer. Can I tell that at school? That our family is famous for loving a lot? Of course." That night, David was in his office answering emails when Tyler appeared at the door. "Dad, can I interrupt?" "Always, son. Come in, sit down." Tyler, now 12, had grown so much, and his maturity impressed everyone who knew him. "I've been thinking about something important." "Go ahead." "When I turn 18, I want to officially change my last name to Thompson." David was touched. "You don't have to do that, son. You're already a Thompson in every way that matters." "I know, but I want to. I want my future kids to know we belong to a family that believes in the power of love and togetherness." "What about Ethan? Have you talked to him?" "We did. He wants to, too. He says he wants his last name to tell the story of how a family can grow and change." David hugged his son. "It would be an honor to have you both officially as Thompsons." "And Dad, there's something else. I want to study psychology after high school to help other kids who've been through what I have. I think that's an excellent choice. And I want to specialize in adoption and blended families to help families like ours succeed. You're going to be an amazing professional because you'll understand firsthand what your patients are going through." "That's exactly what I think. And I want our organization to have a psychological support center to help families during the adjustment process." David Thompson felt proud of his son's vision. "Let's work on this together." 2 years later, when Tyler was about to turn 14, the family received an unexpected visitor. "Mr. Thompson," a woman at the door said, "my name is Julie. I'm the granddaughter of Margaret Wilson Hayes." David was surprised. Margaret had a granddaughter? "Yes, she did. I was living in Europe when she took care of Tyler. I only learned the story after she passed. I came looking for you because I have something that belongs to Tyler. Please come in. Tyler, come here." When Tyler saw Julie, he grew shy. There was so much he never spoke about Mrs. Wilson with people outside the family. "Hi, Tyler. My grandmother told me a lot about you before she passed." "Mrs. Wilson died?" Tyler asked, his eyes filling with tears. "6 months ago. But I want you to know her last years were happy. She always talked about her angel who had found a beautiful family. She knew about our family. Yes, she did. I showed her the news articles. She'd get emotional and say she always knew you'd find your place in the world. Julie opened a box she had brought. She asked me to give this to you. Inside the box was a photo album with pictures of Tyler as a child, some drawings he had made while living with Margaret, and a letter written in shaky handwriting. Tyler carefully opened the letter. My dear angel, if you're reading this, it means I fulfilled my mission. I cared for you until you were ready to find your true family. I always knew this day would come. You were too special to stay with me forever. I'm happy knowing you didn't just find a family. You became part of something bigger, helping other kids like you. Keep being the kind, loving person you've always been. And remember, you were never lost. You were just growing until you were ready to be found. With all my love, your Grandma Margaret. Tyler cried as he read the letter, and the whole family was moved with him. She really loved you so much, Julie said. She always said you came into her life when she needed purpose the most. Can I visit her grave? Tyler asked. Of course. She's buried at Pine Grove Cemetery. And she left one specific request. She wanted you to plant a white rose bush on her grave. Why? Because she said you were like a seed she helped grow. And now it's your turn to plant seeds of hope for others. The following weekend, the whole family went to the cemetery. Tyler planted the white rose bush and said a silent prayer, thanking Margaret for caring for him so tenderly. Mrs. Wilson, he whispered, I found my family, but I'll never forget you were my first real family. Thank you for teaching me about love before I even knew what the word meant. Emma placed a hand on her brother's shoulder. She'd be proud of the man you're becoming. And of the beautiful family you've built, Jennifer added. From that day on, the family visited Margaret's grave once a month. It was a time for reflection and gratitude, and a chance for Tyler to share with her the progress of their family and their project. By the time Tyler turned 15, the family's initiative had expanded to 12 states across the United States. Over 1,500 children had found families through the network they had created. You know what's most amazing, David remarked during a project board meeting. It's not just the children who are being transformed, it's entire families. How so? Asked Marina, the new coordinator. Last week I received a letter from a family in Washington, D.C. They adopted an 8-year-old boy 2 years ago. The mother wrote saying her son didn't just change, he transformed their whole family. He taught his biological siblings about gratitude and his parents about patience and perseverance. It's the multiplier effect of love, Tyler observed. One transformed child transforms a family. One transformed family transforms a community. Exactly. And a transformed community changes the world, one family at a time. Jennifer, who now oversaw the educational aspect of the project nationally, shared the latest numbers. We have 847 families registered as mentors, 312 families who've completed adoptions, and 156 children reunited with their biological families after receiving support through the project. And most importantly, David added, we have 0 cases of withdrawal after a year of living together. That proves when families are well prepared and supported, adoption works. And we have a waiting list of 200 families wanting to join the next preparation group, Marina finished. After the meeting, David returned home and found a scene that moved him. Tyler was helping Hope with her homework. Ethan was reading to Mrs. Wilson, who had started having vision problems. And Emma was on the phone guiding a family from Denver struggling to adjust to their newly adopted child. How's the family from Colorado? David asked when Emma hung up. Better. The girl was afraid to get attached because she'd been returned to the shelter once before. But I explained to the parents that it's normal and they need to be patient. What did you advise? I told them to do what you did with me and the boys. Show love through actions, not just words. And that time heals many wounds. When you feel secure, you won't be abandoned again. David felt proud of his 16-year-old daughter's maturity. You'd make an excellent family therapist. I'm considering it, or maybe social work. I want to work with families. And Ethan, has he decided what he wants to do? He wants to study law. Says he wants to change adoption and mentoring laws. And Hope Hope has time, but yesterday she told me she wants to be a family putter-togetherer when she grows up. David laughed. Family putter-togetherer. I like that. That night, after all the children were asleep, David and Jennifer stayed on the porch talking about the future. "Do you think we've made it?" Jennifer asked. "Made what?" "Built a strong family despite all the obstacles, raised emotionally healthy kids despite their past traumas, made a difference in the world, even though we're just an ordinary family." David thought for a few seconds. "I think we've done something even better. We've proven there's no such thing as an ordinary family. Every family is extraordinary when it's built with love, patience, and dedication. And we've proven that past mistakes don't define the future. That every child deserves a chance to be loved. And that every family can grow when they open their hearts." They sat in silence, watching the stars. "David." "Yes?" "If you could give one piece of advice to a family considering adoption, what would it be?" "That adoption isn't about saving a child. It's about letting a child save you. Because when you open your home and heart to a child who needs a family, that child teaches you about unconditional love, gratitude, strength, and hope." "And what advice would you give to a child waiting for a family?" "That family isn't about perfection, it's about belonging. And that somewhere in the world there's a family waiting for you, even if they don't know it yet." 3 years had passed. Tyler was now 18 and had just been accepted into UCLA's psychology program. Ethan, at 16, was preparing for his law school entrance exams. Emma, 19, was studying social work and already interning with the family's project. Hope, now 8, was a cheerful and outgoing child who loved telling everyone about her special family. On the day of Tyler's high school graduation, the entire family was there. During the valedictorian speech, Tyler was mentioned as an example of perseverance and dedication to his studies. "And I'd especially like to thank Tyler Thompson," the principal said, "who taught us that it doesn't matter where you come from, but where you're going, and who showed our entire school community the value of diversity and inclusion." After the ceremony, the family hosted a celebration at home. Everyone was there. Extended family, project staff, families they'd helped, even Julie, Mrs. Wilson's granddaughter, who had become a close friend. During the party, David called for everyone's attention to make a toast. 9 years ago, our family received the greatest gift we could imagine. We discovered we had missing children. Today, we're not just celebrating Tyler's graduation, but also our own graduation as a family. Tyler, you taught us that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. Not about perfection, but acceptance. Not about having children who are the same, but loving children who are unique. Ethan, you taught us it's never too late to find your place in the world. And when you do, you should use it to help others find theirs. Emma, you taught us that the heart can recognize family before the mind understands, and that love's intuition is stronger than any logic. Hope, you taught us that family is about the future, about hope, about building something better for the next generation. And Jennifer, you taught me that it's possible to rebuild from past mistakes. That guilt can turn into purpose, and pain into healing. David grew emotional as he continued. Today, our family isn't just ours. It's proof that love can overcome any obstacle. Evidence that every child deserves a chance. A demonstration that families can grow and transform. But more important than any of that, we're simply a family that loves each other. A family that chooses to be together every day. A family that never gives up on one another. Tyler asked to speak. Dad, when you found me 9 years ago, I was just a lost kid with an impossible dream of having a family. Today, I'm a man with a clear purpose, to dedicate my life to helping other kids achieve that same dream. But I want everyone to know, my proudest moment isn't graduating high school. My proudest moment is belonging to this family. Knowing I have siblings who love me, parents who never gave up on me, and a grandmother who learned to love me. And I want to make you a promise. I'll use everything I've learned in this family to help other families form. I'll use my experience as an adopted child to guide other kids. I'll use my experience as a loved son to teach other parents about unconditional love. Our family proved miracles exist, not magic miracles, but miracles of love, persistence, and never giving up. The party went on late into the night, filled with music, dancing, and shared stories. At the end of the evening, when everyone had left, the family gathered in the living room for one last conversation. "How do you all feel about the future?" David asked. "Excited," Emma replied. "I'll graduate in 2 years and want to open a branch of the project in another city." "Motivated," Ethan said. "I want to study hard to change the laws that make adoption difficult." "Determined," Tyler answered. "I want within 10 years no child in the United States to wait more than 6 months for a family." "Happy," Hope said. "I want our family to keep growing and helping more children." "And I feel fulfilled," Jennifer said. "We turned our pain into purpose, our mistakes into lessons, our family into an example." "And I feel grateful," David concluded. "Grateful for every obstacle we overcame because it made us stronger. Grateful for every child we helped because they taught us about love. Grateful for every day we have together because I know family is the greatest treasure anyone can have." 2 years later, the Thompson Family Project had grown into a national organization with branches in every state. Emma had graduated and opened the Sacramento branch. Tyler was in his 3rd year of psychology and already counseled families in the adoption process as an intern. Ethan had been accepted into law school with a full academic scholarship. One Saturday morning, the family received a call from national television. "Thompson family, this is Amanda Parker, producer of the Transforming America program. We'd like to do a special feature on the impact your project has had over the last 10 years. "What kind of feature?" David asked. "A 1-hour segment showing not just your family's story, but also the impact you've made on thousands of other families." "How would it work?" "We'd visit families formed through your project, talk to children who found homes, parents who fulfilled their dream of having kids. We want to show the real scope of what you've built." David gathered the family to discuss. "What do you think?" "It could inspire even more families," Tyler said, "and show the government the importance of funding programs like ours," Ethan added. "As long as it doesn't turn our family into a spectacle," Jennifer cautioned. "Agreed," David said. "Our privacy and the naturalness of our family should be preserved." "Then let's accept, but with those conditions," Emma concluded. The feature was filmed over 3 months. The crew followed the family's daily life, visited families in 5 different states, and interviewed children, parents, social workers, and psychologists. The result was a moving story about the transformative power of family love. The program aired on a Tuesday and broke viewership records. The next morning, the project's phone rang nonstop. "We want to adopt twin brothers. Is it possible? We're 50 and want to adopt an older child. Can you help? We're a same-sex couple. Does your project accept families like ours? I'm a single mother and want to adopt. Can I participate?" In the 6 months after the program, over 3,000 families registered with the project. They had to expand the team and create regional branches to meet the demand. "You've started a national movement," said the Secretary of Social Services during a visit. "The government wants an official partnership with you." "What kind of partnership?" David asked. "Turning your model into public policy, implementing project branches in every state capital with government funding." "That would be incredible," Jennifer said. "We could help so many more children. But on one condition," David stipulated. "The focus must stay on families and children, not bureaucracy or numbers." Agreed. The partnership with the government was signed a year later. The Thompson Families Project officially became the foundation for the National Adoption Incentive Policy. On the signing day, the entire family was present at the White House. Who could have imagined, Mrs. Victoria remarked, that the commotion at our front gate 10 years ago would result in a national policy? "It was destiny," Hope, now 11 years old, said. "Our family needed to come together so we could help other families do the same." Tyler, now a psychology graduate pursuing a master's in family therapy, was coordinating the technical aspects of the national project. "You know what moves me the most," he told David. "It's not the scale the project has taken. It's knowing that somewhere in the United States at this very moment, a child is finding a family because of something that started with our own family coming together. And a family is discovering they can love more than they ever imagined, Ethan, now in his third year of law school, added. Emma, who had opened branches in 3 cities, was working on research about the social impacts of adoption. The numbers are astounding, she reported. Families who adopt through our method have a 98% success rate in integration. And not just that, 85% of those families become volunteers in social projects after adoption. Why do you think that happens? The minister asked. Because when you're transformed by love, you want to transform others through love. Hope answered with a simplicity that left everyone speechless. That evening, back in Los Angeles, the family organized a dinner to celebrate the milestone. "Do you realize what we've accomplished?" David said, looking around the table. "We started as a family finding our way, and now we're part of a movement bringing together thousands of families. And the most beautiful part," Jennifer said, "is that our family remains our priority. The project grew, but our love for each other hasn't diminished. On the contrary, it's grown. It's because we discovered the secret," Tyler said. "What secret?" Hope asked. "That the more love you give, the more love you have to give. And that family is like a well," Ethan added. "The more people drink from it, the more water it produces." "I like these comparisons," Emma laughed. "You're turning into poets." "It's the effect of happiness," Mrs. Victoria observed. "When people are truly happy, they see poetry in everything." "And are you happy?" David asked the children. "Very," they all answered in unison. "Even with all the challenges we've faced." "Especially because of the challenges," Tyler replied. "They made us stronger and more united. And taught us to value what we have," Ethan added. "And prepared us to help others," Emma finished. "And showed us that family means never giving up," Hope concluded. David stood and hugged each of the children, then Jennifer, then Mrs. Victoria. "Thank you," he said, emotional. "Thank you for teaching me the true meaning of family." "Thank you for finding me when I was lost," Tyler responded. "Thank you for accepting me when I felt rejected," Ethan said. "Thank you for loving me from the start," Emma spoke. "Thank you for teaching me that family is about love," Hope said. "And thank you for forgiving me and giving me a second chance," Mrs. Victoria added. "And thank you for teaching me it's never too late to do the right thing," Jennifer finished. They stayed embraced for a long time, each reflecting on the journey they'd traveled together. "What's the next step?" Emma eventually asked. "The next step is to keep being a family," David answered. "To keep loving, supporting, and growing together. The rest will follow." "And to keep helping other families come together," Tyler added. "And to keep proving that love always wins," Ethan said. "And to keep being an example that families can grow and transform," Hope added. "Then it's decided," David concluded. "We'll keep being exactly who we are, a family that loves each other and uses that love to make the world a better place." 15 years had passed since that morning when Emma shouted in the garden that she had found her brother. Now Tyler was a respected psychologist, specializing in adoption, married to Amy, a social worker he met while working on the project. They had adopted 2 siblings, Lucas, age 6, and Madison, age 4. Ethan had become a lawyer and successfully passed 3 important laws that streamlined adoption processes in the United States. He was married to Jennifer, coincidentally sharing his mother's name, a juvenile court judge. They had a biological daughter, Helen, age 2, and were in the process of adopting an 8-year-old boy. Emma led the national organization and had been honored by the government for her services to American children. She was married to Robert, a pediatrician, and had 2 biological children, David, age 5, named after his grandfather, and Margaret, age 3, in honor of Mrs. Wilson, who had cared for Tyler. Hope, now 19, was studying psychology and already showed the same talent as her siblings for working with families. She had volunteered at the project since she was 14, and everyone knew she would be the next generation to lead the organization. David, now 58, had devoted himself entirely to the project and become a national reference in adoption and foster care. Jennifer oversaw research and training. Mrs. Victoria, at 83, was still active in the project and loved telling stories to the children newly arrived at the care centres. One March morning, the family gathered for their traditional Sunday breakfast. Now there were 17 people around the table, the 7 original members, plus spouses and grandchildren. "Look at our family," David said, gazing at the full table. "From 4 to 17 people in 15 years. And every person here has a love story," Jennifer remarked. Grandpa David, Lucas, Tyler's adoptive son, asked, "Is it true that Daddy Tyler lived on the streets when he was little?" "Yes, it's true." "And how did he get off the streets?" "He never left the streets, my grandson. He brought his family to the streets and they took him home." "I don't understand." Tyler explained to his son, "What Grandpa means is that when you find your family, it doesn't matter where you are. Family comes to you, no matter the place. And now we have a huge family." "We sure do. And every person who joins makes our family more interesting." "Can I tell you something?" Hope said. "Of course," everyone replied. "Last week, a 6-year-old girl arrived at the center where I work. She was very scared and didn't want to talk to anyone. So I told her our family's story. And what happened? She asked if it was true that families could form in different ways. I said yes. Then she asked if it was true that sometimes parents look for their children instead of children looking for their parents. I said yes again. And then? Then she smiled for the first time and said, "So my parents are looking for me right now, right?" I told her yes, that somewhere parents were dreaming of her. "How beautiful," Amy, Tyler's wife, commented. "And you know what else? Yesterday, a family arrived who wanted to meet her. On their first visit, the girl told them, 'You took a long time to find me, but it's okay, I forgive you.'" Everyone laughed at the child's spontaneity. "Our story has become a reference even for the kids," Ethan observed. "It's because our story proves that happy endings exist," Emma said. "And that everyone deserves a happy ending," David added. That afternoon, as the children played in the yard and the adults chatted on the porch, David received a special call. "Mr. David? This is Deborah from Miami. Do you remember me?" "Of course I do. You're the one who adopted Mary after seeing our feature 10 years ago." "Exactly. I'm calling to share some news. Mary just got accepted into medical school. She wants to be a pediatrician to care for orphaned children." David was moved. "What wonderful news. And she asked me to tell you something, that the Thompson family saved her life twice, once when they inspired our family to adopt her, and again when she decided to dedicate her life to saving other children. Deborah, you have no idea how happy this call makes me. And Mr. David, there's one more thing. Mary wants to volunteer at your organization during college. She says she wants to give back what she received. She'll be more than welcome." When he hung up, David called the whole family to share the news. "Remember the first letter we got from Deborah in Miami? The one who adopted Mary," Emma recalled. "That's right. Mary just got into medical school and wants to volunteer with our project." "Amazing!" Tyler exclaimed. "Our story inspired her adoption, and now she wants to inspire other adoptions." "It's the cycle of love," Hope observed. "Receive love, give love, multiply love." "And do you know how many stories like this we have?" David asked. "Over 1,000. 1,000 children who found families and are now using their experiences to help other kids. Our family created an army of good people," Ethan said proudly. "We didn't create an army," David corrected. "We created a network of love, and love networks are more powerful than any army." That night, after everyone had left and the house fell silent, David and Jennifer stayed on the porch, gazing at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" Jennifer asked. "I'm thinking our story proves that the best endings are also the best beginnings." "How so?" "Our family was complete when we found Tyler and Ethan, but that ending became the start of something much bigger. The end of our search became the beginning of thousands of other families' searches." "And are you satisfied with everything we've accomplished?" David thought for a few seconds. "More than satisfied. I'm grateful. Grateful that we turned our pain into purpose. Grateful that we found a way to do good that will last long beyond our lives." "And do you know what makes me most grateful?" Jennifer said. What? That our family remains our priority. Despite all the work, all the responsibility, all the recognition, we're still first and foremost a family that loves each other. That's true, and our children learned that. They've all built their own strong, loving families, and our grandchildren are growing up knowing that family is about love, not blood, and that everyone deserves a family, and that every family can grow, and that love never diminishes when it's shared. They fell silent, savoring the peace of the night and the satisfaction of a life well lived. David? Yes? If you could leave one message for all the families in the United States, what would it be? David thought carefully before answering. That family isn't about perfection. It's about love. It's not about having children who are like you. It's about loving unique children. It's not about having no problems. It's about facing problems together. And that every child deserves a family, and every family has room for more love. And what message would you leave for the children still waiting for a family? That they never lose hope. That somewhere in the world there's a family dreaming of them. That they are special, they are loved, they are wanted. And when they find their family, they'll understand that all the waiting was worth it. The following week, David was organizing old photos when he came across that first picture of Emma and Tyler together, taken on the day he brought him home. The two children were holding hands, smiling at the camera. He placed the photo next to a recent one of the whole family together. The difference was striking, from 2 children to 17 people, from a story of separation to a story of unity, from an incomplete family to one that had become a national example. "What are you thinking about?" Tyler asked, finding his father in the study. "I'm thinking about the journey we've been on, where we started and where we are now. And how do you feel about all of it?" "Proud, grateful, fulfilled, but mostly hopeful." "Hopeful about what?" "About the future. Because I know our story will continue through our children, grandchildren, and all the families we've helped create. The love we planted will keep growing for generations." "And what do you hope people remember about our family?" "I hope they remember that we never gave up, that we faced obstacles, overcame prejudice, and conquered fear, and that we proved love always finds a way. And I hope our story inspires other families to open their hearts and homes. It definitely will. It already has for thousands, and it'll keep inspiring for years to come." That night, for the last time, David went into each of his children's rooms to say goodnight. It was a tradition he'd kept since they were little, even now that some had families of their own. In Emma's room, "Good night, Princess." "Good night, Dad. Thank you for never giving up on our family." In Tyler's room, "Good night, son." "Good night, Dad. Thank you for showing me what it means to be loved unconditionally." In Ethan's room, "Good night, my boy." "Good night, Dad. Thank you for giving me a place where I belong." In Hope's room, "Good night, my Hope." "Good night, Daddy. Thank you for teaching me that family is about love." And finally, in the room where Mrs. Wilson slept, "Good night, Mrs. Wilson." "Good night, David. Thank you for forgiving me and letting me be part of this wonderful family. Thank you for changing and becoming the grandmother our children deserve." When he returned to his room, Jennifer was in bed reading. "Last round of good nights?" she asked, smiling. "Always. It's my favorite part of the day." "Why?" "Because it's when I remember how blessed we are, how special our family is, how lucky we are to have each other." David lay beside his wife, and they talked about their plans for the next day, the week, the month. "Jennifer?" "Yes?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For joining me on this journey. For becoming an amazing mother to 4 very different children. For helping me build the most beautiful family I could have imagined. And thank you for never giving up. For fighting for our family when even I doubted. For teaching me that love is always the right answer." They fell asleep holding hands, as they had every night for 15 years. The next morning, David woke to the sound of children playing in the yard. His grandchildren, who had come to spend the weekend. From the bedroom window, he watched the scene. Lucas and Madison, Tyler's children, playing hide and seek with David and Margaret, Emma's children, while Helen, Ethan's daughter, tried to keep up with the older ones. "What a beautiful sight," Jennifer said, joining him at the window. It's the continuation of our story, the next generation of Thompsons. Do you think they'll carry forward the values we tried to teach? I'm sure of it. Look how they play together, how they take care of each other. They already knew without needing an explanation that family is about love and care. They came down for breakfast and found the whole family gathered in the kitchen. It was a scene that had repeated every weekend for years, multiple generations sharing the table, telling stories, planning the day. "Grandpa David," Lucas asked, "when I grow up, can I work on the project too?" "Of course you can, my grandson, if that's what you want to do." "And can I help other kids find families?" "Yes, you can." "Then when I grow up, that's what I'll do. Because every child deserves a family like ours." David looked around the table and saw his legacy. Not just a big, loving family, but a new generation that had already learned the most important values about love, family, and generosity. "You know what I'd like to do today?" he said. "What?" everyone asked. "I'd like to visit Mrs. Wilson, tell her about our grandchildren, about how our family has grown, about how many other families have formed because of the love she planted by taking care of Tyler." "Great idea," Tyler agreed. "Let's all go together. And we can bring her flowers," Emma suggested. "And we can tell her the project became national policy," Ethan added, "and that thousands of children have found families." Hope finished. That afternoon, the whole family went to the cemetery. The rosebush Tyler had planted years before was in full bloom, beautiful and well cared for. "Mrs. Wilson," Tyler said, kneeling near the grave, "I brought my whole family to meet you. These are my siblings, my parents, my grandmother, my wife, my children, my nieces and nephews. And we came to tell you that the seed you planted has grown into a forest," David added. "Thousands of families have formed because of the love you taught Tyler." "And to say thank you," Emma said. "Because if you hadn't cared for Tyler with so much love, maybe our family would never have found each other." They stayed there for an hour, each one telling Margaret about their lives, their dreams, their plans. The children placed drawings on the grave, and everyone said goodbye, promising to return soon. "I think she'd be proud," Jennifer commented on the way back. "I'm sure she would," Tyler replied. "She always said I had a special purpose in the world. I think she knew that one day I'd be part of something bigger." "And you were," David said. "We all were." That Sunday night, after everyone had left, the immediate family gathered one last time in the living room. "How do you feel about everything we've been through together?" David asked. "Grateful to have a family that never gives up," Emma answered. "Proud to belong to a family that makes a difference in the world," Tyler said. "Happy to have found my place," Ethan replied. "Excited for our family's future," Hope said. "And I feel complete," Jennifer concluded. "Our family has proven that love always finds a way." "And I feel fulfilled," David said, "because we've turned our personal story into one that will inspire people for a long time." "What do you think our family's legacy is?" Tyler asked. David thought carefully before answering. "Our legacy is proof that every child deserves a family, and every family can grow. It's proof that love doesn't shrink when it's shared, it multiplies. It's the example that the problems of the past don't define the future when there's love, forgiveness, and determination." "And most importantly," Jennifer added, "our legacy is that thousands of children have families today because our family proved adoption works when it's done with love. And that our story will continue through every family that forms," Emma said. "And every child who finds a home," Ethan finished. "And from every person who chooses to open their heart to love more," Hope concluded. David hugged each of his children, then his wife. "Thank you for letting me be your father, for teaching me that family is the greatest treasure anyone can have, for showing me that love is always the right answer. And thank you for never giving up on us," Tyler replied on behalf of everyone. They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing their story was unique but also aware they had planted seeds for thousands of other equally beautiful stories. And so, the Thompson family continued their journey, knowing the love they shared had become a beacon of hope for thousands of other families across the United States. The end. Now tell me, What did you think of this story? Do you believe Tyler truly found his real family? And Victoria's transformation? Was it convincing for you? Share your honest thoughts in the comments about how this story touched your heart. If you have any experience with adoption or foster care, it would be wonderful if you could share it with us. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. Don't forget to like this video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.